Hi, this is Human Hamza, and this is another video part of the Waves to Use video tutorial series. In this video, I'll show you how you can utilize several tools within Waves 2 to build a web form that captures data within a database table. For starters, we're going to go and create a new page that we're going to add our web form to. So I'm going to open up my Waves 2 node and go down to my Waves 2 website, and we're going to go down all the way to the bottom of our CMS tree, and we're just going to add a new page. So we'll right click here, click on add. It's going to bring me to my add a web page form, and I'm just going to simply call this page web form, and that's going to pre-fill most of these items for me. That's okay. And here we're just going to click on add to add our new page. Now as soon as my page is created, it's going to bring me into the editor, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply choose the widget pull down menu here, and I'm going to select web form. So here's our form builder widget. It's on this page, and at this point we can just simply save this page knowing that our widget has been created. A new instance of the form builder widget is being created within the system. Now when it comes to the form, there's a set of properties that we need to set. But before we do that, we actually need to create a database table container to capture the contents of our web form. Now by default, our web form from our form builder widget is not configured yet, so it's going to actually give us a default message to let us know that we need to do further things, which is no columns to display, since it's not tied yet to a database table. So the next step is to create that database table. So I'm going to open up my CMS tree menu again, and now we're going to toggle down below to the database table section. And first I'm going to choose table structures so we can design our table. And here we are. I'm just going to click on the add tool, and we'll just simply call this web form, and we'll choose to create a new structure. And here we're going to do a very simple form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose first name as a column. We'll also choose last name. Here under contacts, we're going to choose the email option. We'll want to grab the email of the user. And then finally, what we're going to do is just a free form field rather than using the select common columns. I'm going to click on add here, and the last item here is going to be message. So this is going to be a simple contact form. And for the message, we're going to choose our advanced editor field, which is really going to give the user a lot of options as to what they could submit there. So we'll click on save here, and that's really going to make the contents of our table. So I'll click on save. It's going to say column selection is completed, and as soon as I try to save this table structure, it's going to ask me if I want to create a table with the same name. We'll say OK. And now we know that our table is created under the name web form with that table structure. To confirm, we can just go down here and we can take a look at our table. You'll notice that it's web form. When we click on it, it's going to load in our tables grid. And here we'll click on manage table values. And since this is a brand new table, it's going to come in without any content. So we're just going to get a new form to add our first record. So now that we have our table created, we're going to go back to our web form page that we created earlier. And now when we go down on our page, we're going to edit our web form, clicking on this pen icon next to the form builder widget. That's going to open up our properties. And the first thing we're going to do now that we have our table is to configure the data source. So I'm going to toggle over to my configure data source tab, and I'm going to choose my new table here, which is called web form. As soon as we do that, the system knows what that table structure is. So it's going to load all of those columns here. Now it's my opportunity to select the columns I want to include. And since I want to select all, I'm just going to click on this checkbox, which is going to select all columns. Now I get to fill out some of the particulars for my form. For example, I could set some default values. This is what actually appears as a caption within the field itself. Then we could choose some validations. For example, for our email, we're going to set some email validation. And finally, what we're going to have is the actual captions of the form fields themselves. So we'll do first name here, last name, email, and then finally message. And I'm going to set some of these as mandatory. We may want to take the user's email for sure. And of course, we're going to need a message from them as well. There's a couple of other options here. We can have a hidden field. So if we want to just pass one of these values onto a next set of forms, we can make it a hidden field. We also have the option to include some of these in some mails that are sent. You'll see in the property values tab that we're able to set a forwarding email so that the user who has submitted, we know where to send that content. We also have an option to send an email to the submitter themselves, such as thanks for sending a message, someone will be contacting you briefly. You could also include some of these fields in those particular emails. For example, if you want the email that's generated to say hello and the first name of the user, you have the option of choosing that data field here. So if I choose data field 1 here, I could then in my email template put data field with captions around it, which will then generate an automatic email with the user's first name that they submitted in the form. Once I do some of these configurations, I can always go over to my property values. So I can send the forwarding email and submitter email here. So I'll set the forwarding email to myself. This means that any user that submits this contact form is sent to me. You can see that there's subject line, CCs, BCCs, a couple different options here. We can set the template for a page. We can set the submit caption, the message that the user sees when they submit the message. Over here we have the submitter email, so we can say thanks for the message. We can set some body text, again another template for this particular email. You can see there's really a whole set of properties here that let you fine tune what the email is like, what the form is like, and what the experience around that form is like. Here under the CSS Styles tab, we're able to design our entire form. We're going to see that it comes in with a pretty basic format, but right here we have all the different classes for that form where we could change the font size, the padding, the field type. Everything as far as that form goes can be changed here so that you can really match any design. When I'm ready, I'll click on Save here, and it's going to tell us that's updated. So now we're going to let our page reload, and we're going to see that the form is going to come in a very basic format. Now I'm going to preview this page. So at this point, we're going to test our form submission. So I'm going to simply fill this out here. We're going to notice that for this particular field, this is the advanced editor, so the user actually gets to format their message. And once we're ready, we'll click on Submit, and our page is going to reload. So now we can go over to our table, our database table. And we're going to locate web form. Here it is. We'll click on the Manage Table Values grid.